Oh my God, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary himself is here on the Sarah Fraser Show. Kevin, I gotta tell you, my audience is so excited about this interview.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. I've been waiting to work with you for a while, and here we are.
Here we are. Hopefully the start of a beautiful friendship. And believe me, I knew my number. I got my numbers together just in case I had to give you a pitch. Because I know you say, like, if you don't know your numbers, you should be dragged outside and shot. So
Well, I mean,
I wanted to
Sarah, you're
survive.
already dead to me. Just bringing up numbers. I mean, that's it. Let's go.
I'm going to give you like all my numbers so you can invest in this podcast. Okay, first of all, what an incredible career. Last night, the season 17 premiere of Shark Tank. Did you ever think you'd be on season 17?
No. I mean, the metrics of television tell you the chance of that happening is almost zero. Most shows don't last past seven, if you get 7 years. This is extraordinary. But I think Shark Tank's gone to a completely different place. It's part of the American entrepreneurial lore.
Yeah.
It's on in 54 countries around the world. You know, I tell people all the time the number one export of America is not energy, it's not technology, it's the American dream. And Shark Tank has become the ambassador of the American dream. When people watch young entrepreneurs all over the world come up with their ideas and go through the challenges they have to create a business, it's incredibly inspirational. And people around the world aspire to do the same thing. I mean, we're still the largest economy on earth, and people want to come to America to start a business and provide for their families. And that the spark of Shark Tank is exactly that. It's just one idea can change your life forever, and you just don't know what's going to come through that door. It's so, addictive. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
I watch it and I'm there. I was there when it was made, and I'm always interested to see how they take an hour-long pitch and cut it down to 8 minutes, because I remember every product since the first episode.
Do you?
Yep.
Wow. Oh my God. Well, last night, okay, how does it feel like when last night Pete Davidson, obviously super famous comedian, was there with a sock pitch? You gave an offer, you teamed up, you didn't get it. Like, does that stick with you? Like, are you a guy that also holds a grudge? Or you like, do you know everyone that turned you down too?
No, I never cry over spilt milk, because I see thousands of deals within Shark Tank and all the people that pitch me outside of Shark Tank, both large and small deals all around the world. And I'm very lucky from that perspective. The thing about being a shark is everybody returns your call. Everybody, world leaders, the head of retailers, everybody wants a picture with a shark with their kids. I mean, that's just the way it is, whatever country you're in. And I think that's fantastic because it's bipartisan, it's not political. I'll stand beside Elizabeth Warren and AOC and all the Republican senators. This is about job creation. Who doesn't want to create a job? It doesn't matter who you are in America. You want to create a job. That's your mandate. That's what we do at Shark Tank. So I think it's very special. But, you can't win every deal, and nor should you. I mean, you have to have diversification in your portfolio. I win some, I lose some. That's life.
Were you kind of, I mean, Pete Davidson, I mean, shouldn't he have been there pitching like a condom line? I mean, the guy apparently has like a massive wang. Like, why was he there with socks? I mean, right? I mean, it would like, if I had a shot with, it would have been like, I think you guys all know why I'm here. I mean, I'm well endowed. Here's, I've got a huge condom line, right? I mean, were you kind of like, look, you're a little off base here with
Well,
it.
I think you're right, Sarah. It's much better to hawk products you actually use. And that's one of the big tricky things about entrepreneurs, teaming up with celebrities. The thing about social media over the last 3 years is audiences and users and followers, they can smell bullshit a mile away. So if you're just hawking some crap you don't use, it's even worse. I mean, a lot of celebrities do that. They'll hawk five different things, none of which they
Perfumes.
actually
I
use.
mean, everybody has a fragrance.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, I don't do that because I've seen the effects of what that can do within my own businesses. And I warn my CEOs, listen, just because you've got some celebrity, it doesn't mean it's going to change the outcome of your business. What matters in launching a product or service is, will the people that buy it become your advocates? Not because a celebrity uses it, because they tried it, they like it, and they tell their friends. Then you get a geometric increase in your followers, and all of a sudden a geometric increase in the people that are using it. Those are the virally successful companies. and they know how to use Instagram, they know how to use TikTok. And believe me, they don't need many celebrities. I mean, maybe with a fragrance you could argue that, but does it really matter long term if you can't get people to buy it from you arm's length? No.
Uh, I have so many questions for you, and so does my audience. I want to ask you a couple more about Shark Tank. One of the reasons I think your show has been so successful is you have amazing chemistry with your co-sharks. I love you and Barbara together. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys need to divorce each other's spouses and like get married. I don't know. You and Barbara are like hot together. But
Listen, I just want to say something about Barbara, having worked with her for 17 years. The only reason she gets to the set on time is I buy her a new broom every year.
really, is Barbara kind of who? Okay, behind the scenes, are you more of a shark or is Barbara? You imply she's this witch. I mean.
I didn't say that. She just likes to ride around on brooms. What can I tell you? You look up in the sky and then she's got a big hat on, black hat, and she's flying up and down the set on lunch, just testing out the new brooms I buy her. I can't believe it. That's how she likes to get around. I mean, maybe she's part of those witches. I have no idea, but damn, she can ride a broom. I'll tell you that.
How did the chemistry work from the beginning? I mean, honestly, I mean, you and Mark, I mean, balance one another. Lori, I mean, you guys really. Did you just get
Well,
lucky?
I think after 17 years, I mean, for those 2 months, I spend more time with those people than my family.
Yeah.
And so, we work really hard. We'll get up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I try and work out early because, I mean, I'm going to sit in a chair for 10, 12 hours. And then we get together at night, maybe for dinner at 9:30, and then get up again in the morning at 4 o'clock and do it 3 days in a row, take a day off, do it 3 more days in a row. It takes a long time because we want to give every entrepreneur their fair shake, their fair time. They've flown from some place in the country, they've been waiting for days. They're corralled off in a secret place. We don't get to see them in a motel or hotel near us. And then their big moment comes. I know they practiced 1,000 times, but nothing. You can't practice for the big moment because that's when the 20 cameras are rolling, the lights are on you, you're in front of over $1 billion worth of investors. You got 110 million eyeballs watching you in syndication if you can air. And it's a magic moment. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Just the way life is.
Yeah, big time, big time. You have some pretty big name guest sharks. Kendra Scott, Chip and Joanna Gaines this season. Who impressed you the most?
Guest sharks are interesting because they bring a different perspective, and always they come from a different sector, one that we're not involved in. So that adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the show. If they built a business in some space that we don't know, or we haven't, the main sharks haven't done anything in. But it doesn't always work. I mean, it's some people are really good at figuring it out in the first couple of minutes. But
Mm,
the thing is, once those cameras roll and once that first deal comes out, I don't care that they're guest sharks. You know, I'll I'll crush them like cockroaches if they can't keep up. I don't give a damn. That's just, it doesn't. There's no kumbaya with guest sharks. They got to fend for themselves. If they want a piece of a deal, chop chop, make it happen. Get competitive, get going. The show is merciless that way. It deals in reality. We
yeah.
we don't see the cameras anymore. We don't care. We're looking for the best deal to invest our money in. We want to make money. We know the platform itself can accelerate growth in any business because you can get customers at a zero customer acquisition cost on Shark Tank. I mean, we're a venture capital firm on steroids. We have advantages that no VC firm has. And so, we've all made money on Shark Tank. It's a fantastic platform for us. So if you're a guest shark, don't expect me to kumbaya you. I don't care.
Sounds like you didn't think you weren't impressed by any of them then, I guess, this season.
Oh, listen, I'm impressed, and I've even done deals with guest sharks. But they're not going to get any special treatment, and I think that's part of why the show works. There's no, oh, listen, we're not going to beat you up too much, and we'll take care of you. That's all bullshit. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the economy now because it's on people's minds. A lot of millennial women listen to my show. There's a lot of dire predictions. The Black Swan manager guy that, he's come out and basically said, look, we're right before the Great Depression again. You're a pro in this department. What do you think is happening with the economy? And should we be nervous?
Well, people ask me all the time, why is it that there's so much chaos internationally and domestically with tariffs and politics and everything, and the market keeps hitting a new high every week? Why? Well, I'll tell you why. If you look at what happened post-pandemic to the American economy, and we saw a lot of this with Shark Tank, there was a period in 2020, 2021, when you were locked down. You're sitting in your condo, your home, you can't go anywhere. And 110 million Americans had never used their phones for anything other than a couple of texts and maybe calling their kids or something. But if they didn't figure out how to order goods and services like groceries during the lockdown period, they starved to death. And so you had this massive digitization to the American economy where every single person, over 300 million, is hip to using their phone to order goods and services. And every company, their entire distribution model, I don't care if you're an S&P 500 or somebody just with a startup, half your business now is direct to consumer. And when that happens, you get something even more valuable than gold. You get the data. You get the information of who your customer is, what they buy, frequency of purchase, flavors they like, size of shoe, clothing they buy, where they ship it, how many members of the family. All of that stuff is incredibly good information. And it used to be that you could gather, but you couldn't afford to scrape it or use it. And then right after the pandemic's over, along comes AI. And AI costs on a subscription service for data scraping and manipulation continue to go down every month. So even a small business now can analyze their data and figure out where to build red sneakers, where to put different varieties of wine, because they have all the data. And so when you sell direct to a customer, you're not just making 50 cents on the dollar anymore. You're making as much as 60 to 80 cents on the dollar. So your margins go up. The margin enhancement in the S&P 500 in the last 3 years is unprecedented. Earnings,
Like 20%.
unprecedented.
It's like some crazy number. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, but
so this has happened because of digitization and productivity from AI. So everybody buckle up. This is a renaissance period in America.
okay, so you think it's going to get better. You're not worried.
I'm always worried. I worry all day long about everything, but I think we're in a period of adjustment and correction towards a new economy that is powered by a resource we never had, a tool we never had, AI. I use it every day in all kinds of different ways across all 50 plus, all of my companies.
Everything.
We all use it, and we're all getting margin enhancement. We used to make 15% pre-tax. That was fantastic pre-pandemic. Now we're making 17 and a half on aggregate across the portfolio. It's the best money we've ever made. We're having the best quarter we've ever had right now, as you and I speak. Sure, I know how to be miserable and whine and complain, but I'm telling you, this economy is on fire.
Okay, so things like when the president comes out and we're not adding jobs to the American job market, did those things signal to you any red flags? Because that the jobs market report
Well,
is not great.
it's great, Sarah, we're talking right now because 2 hours ago that theory was debunked. We have some very strong or much better than anticipated job numbers this morning, and unfortunately, some nasty inflation too. And so I don't think, the president loves to beat up the Fed for dropping rates. I don't see how the Fed can drop rates with the numbers this morning. I mean, they've got a hold here. I mean, we got to see what's going to happen because the full effects of tariff haven't really come through the system yet. And at the same time, we thought we'd have a lot more jobless claims. We didn't. And so, and I think the print on inflation was like 2.8 something percent. So that's not two, that's a lot higher. And I think, and it's not going down. That's the whole point. So hold on, Bubba Louie. We'll have to wait and see what happens
Hold
next.
on, baby. All right. Well, you kind of touched on it with interest rates. Where are you at with purchasing a home? I just bought a house in LA. I don't know if this was a good idea or not, but I signed the mortgage with my husband, so here we are. Would you recommend?
Oh, let me get this right. You're married and you bought the home, and you're both on the hook for the mortgage, right?
Yeah, you and look, I took your advice. My name's on everything. Look,
Yeah, damn right it has to be. I mean, I tell women
better
this all
believe
the
that.
time. Get it. That's why I invested in Hello Prenup. You got to get a
I love
prenup.
that company. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So she's terrific, Sarah, who runs it. But the point is, A marriage is an economic union. Buying a house is an economic decision. Buying a house and owning it is running a business. You got to service the debt. You have
Yeah.
to take care of the capex. You got to pay the utility bills. And you better love that house and you better love your spouse, because the worst thing that can happen is divorce when you have debt ownership. It's a catastrophic loss of wealth. It's so stupid.
So
So,
bad. Well, look, I've been following you for years, honey. So let me tell you, I went to therapy with my husband for 2 years before marrying him because I knew he would be one of the biggest investments I ever made in my life. So we talked about everything before we got married. And he's been one of the greatest decisions so far I've ever made. He's an awesome financial partner, life part, whole thing, great dad. Um, and I agree with you. I mean, divorce is so catastrophic. I've seen friends lose it all. Then they have to marry men they hate just because they have money. I mean, it's awful. But
I mean, look, I have friends who've been married 5 times. I'm saying, why bother? What are you doing? First of all, I'm tired of coming to these weddings. I mean, it's nuts. And this is your fifth wedding, and there's a 40-year difference with the girl you're marrying. What are you, crazy? Like, this just doesn't make sense.
do
And
you think?
so,
Yeah,
but you're right. If you can get the right person, it sounds like you have. How long have you been married for, by the way?
6 years. I've been with him 11. I took my time, probably I'm slow, too slow of a decision maker, but you can beat me up on that with my do my pitch. But anyway, but greatest decision. And he's helped my career tenfold. So I have no regrets.
Well, when you hit the seventh year and you can stay in the union, you're beating the odds now. And so that is the crux. I mean, I've looked at so much of this data. I wrote some books about this stuff and I
Yeah.
researched it with divorce lawyers. 7 years. I mean, it's great that you live to. I don't know if you live together first, but it's
We
great to
did.
be okay. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with moving in. I mean, I did that and that didn't work out. You know, when you get married, you gotta deal with a lot. Well, I don't have to tell you that. Have been successful. You have to deal with a lot of shit, and you have to learn how to deal with it. It's not it's every day is not that easy. It's not bad. It's just you got to understand it's a different deal. And I give a lot of coaching on this stuff now. A lot of my entrepreneurs are young and they're just, they're thinking about the economic union. And I talk to them a lot about this. But I think building a family is a wonderful thing, but it is also a business. And you have to provide for your children financially. So you get it, but I think you should be providing a lot of this advice to women too. Checking guys out, making sure you have both the financial goals and they're not in debt, they're not gamblers, they don't owe somebody $1 million. That is really sussed out during a prenup process. It's really amazing because I saw this happen to one of my friend's daughters just recently. They thought they were so happy. We even had the wedding invitations. And I said, you got a prenup? She said, oh, we're not going to do that. I mean, we're so in love. I said, bullshit. I got her dad to force her into the prenup thing, saying it's very healthy. And guess what she found out? This guy was a scumbag, a deadbeat. He owed money all over the street, and he lied to her about it. That would have come out. And I think I saved that marriage. I'm very proud of myself. But, it was heartbreaking, invitations out, cancel the wedding, yada, 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 yada. But she avoided a disaster, and I'm pretty happy about it.
I always say with prenups with friends, why don't you do it when you're at the happiest? You ought to do a contract when you both are like the most in love, you're rooting for each other, so then if things go totally like tits up, at least you did it when you guys were happy for each other, I mean, it's hard to undo it when you hate each other. By the time you get to the divorce part, nobody, the divorce lawyer wins. That's about it.
Yeah, and you lose a third of your net worth. That's what I keep
Oof.
telling everybody. You better hate each other a lot. Because I also have a lot of friends that have that are shadow divorces where they've separated. They live in different floors of the same home. They take care of their kids collectively and they date other people, but they don't want to break up the business of being married because it costs so much. And it's, why give up a third of your net worth?
So, what do you say to women? The best advice? Do you think every woman needs a prenup? Even if a woman is listening to this and she's like, Kevin, I have a net worth of $25,000. Why do I need a prenup? Do you think every woman should get one?
Yes, yes. It's not just for you. The prenup process, and you can just go look for free at Hello Prenup, forces the other, the significant other, to disclose their financial well-being or lack thereof. You have to disclose what you're bringing to the table. That's how you set up a prenup. So if you're going down the list on the liabilities and you see $250,000 in credit card debt, whoa, how'd you get there? Are you a spendaholic? I mean, how'd you do that yourself? You carrying some massive debt on something else? Have you been sued? Do you owe money to family members? You know, have you ever been involved in a bankruptcy? This is kind of important stuff because once you're married to that person, you own all that shit. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah, such great advice. Talk to me about millennials. Millennials are getting ready to experience the biggest wealth shift our country's ever seen. Baby boomers are going to leave their kids. I mean, you boomers have it all, right? So you're getting ready to leave us. I don't even know how many billions of dollars it is or trillions. If you were a millennial about to inherit $1 million and you're 40 years old, what would you do with that?
Well, I'm not sure that that's a good strategy. I'm not doing that with my kids. I'll tell you, everybody listening to us right now knows a screwed up rich kid, very screwed up rich kid. Sometimes in their late 20s, early 30s, never held down a job, drive around in a Corvette, real assholes. They just milk the family's wealth. They don't do anything. They're listless. They've never accomplished anything. They've never launched because they didn't have to. They were entitled. And I argue that that's a curse. And the person who taught that to me was my mother. She said to me when I graduated, and I've told this story 1,000 times, she said, the dead bird under the nest never learns how to fly. And I said, what the hell does that mean, Mom? She said, it means this is the last check I'm ever writing for you. You're graduating. I said, whoa, I don't have a job. I got car payments. I got rent. She said, I don't care. I've taken care of you from birth to last day of college. You're on your own. And I had a real hard time for a couple of years, but she hated entitlement. And I remember, years later when we had our first liquidity event at the Learning Company, I don't know, 10 of us, maybe it was 7 of us were founders and a couple other guys had big stock options. We woke up really, we didn't try for that, but we woke up, oh, we're rich. What do we do now? But we'd only known how to work. And so in my case, I went across the river and did a generational skipping trust that takes care of any child in my family from birth to last day of college. And then nothing.
Really?
Yeah, and I went home and I explained the structure to my 4 and 6-year-old kids. But later on, when my son was doing very poorly in high school in Boston, he came home one day and he said, you know, Dad, my friend has a trust. He was telling me about his trust. I know I have one too. Can you walk me through how mine works? I said, yeah, Trevor, it's great because if Mom and I get run over by a truck, it's okay. This is going to pay for you to finish high school, but your marks are so shitty that you don't have to worry about going to college. You'll never get in anywhere. And he said, yeah, but I don't have to worry about that. I got a trust. And I said, oh, no. This trust, which I can't change, run by other people, only pays while you're in school. And he said, what? And I said, the dead bird under the nest never learns how to fly. And he said, what the hell does that mean? It means I'll be dead and you'll be broke. So you got to figure out how to milk this trust cow as long as you can. And that means you got to get into college and maybe you got to go for post-grad or something because you can milk that cow while you're in school. And he looked at me and Horace said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, yeah, I'm sorry. That's where the dough is and I don't run it anymore. And that's the check they're writing you. It's taking care of everything. Your books, your clothes, your rent, the whole deal. But when you're not in school, nyana. Well, I look at the situation now, what happened. So he gets his nose to the grindstone, uses the last 3 years to pump up his marks, gets into university and college, gets an electrical engineering degree, gets a job at Tesla. works there for 5 years, makes good dough, applies to MIT and Harvard, gets into both. Now he's at Harvard, and he's back on the tit of the trust, sucking the cow cash, back in school. Now that's a smart kid. That's what I'm telling you. But that's what not entitling somebody does. That's how it works. That's the advice I'm giving to people. And I'm not saying you can't take care of medical problems and stuff, but don't just give your cash to your kids. They'll get all screwed up. And look at the ones that are hanging out with these rich, screwed up kids. I feel sorry for them. They're going to have crap lives.
But what about your kids later on, right? You and your wife are going to live a long time. Okay, maybe when you guys pass, your kids are close to 50 or so. I mean, you're not going to leave your fortune to them then. They've worked.
Well, listen, my wife's much younger than I am, so she's going to get the dough first, and then I'll be dead, and she can decide what she wants to do. She's already cheating. She goes down to New York and Boston where they live and shops with them, and I get these bills that are insane. I said, "What are you doing?" They have their own jobs. She said, "Oh, I just want to go shopping, yada yada yada." So she's already distributing wealth in nasty little
Good for
ways.
her. Smart
Yeah.
woman. You guys work hard. All right, talk to us about TikTok. What's going on with TikTok? I'm so worried about this algorithm. I mean, am I going to be now just inundated with United States propaganda? What's going on, Kevin?
Yeah, so TikTok's a very interesting situation. Remember, the problem with TikTok started years ago. It's not a Johnny-come-lately problem. Years ago, even in other countries, let's look at India. The guy running India said, "This is spyware." And he said to Chinese, "You got to fix this stuff. I don't want all this data on Indian people going back to Beijing." And they didn't comply, and he just turned it off. There's no TikTok in India. TikTok, as we know it, isn't even allowed in China. This is world-class spyware. That's what it is. And we've been using it in the United States. And finally, Congress, on a bipartisan basis, last year, passed a law upheld by the Supreme Court 9-0 that unless TikTok falls into American hands and the algorithm is modified so it's not Chinese spyware, it has to be turned off. The penalty for not turning it off to its owner is about $807 billion. It's $5,000 times 172 million for every day that it's not compliant. So that's set the scene. Now, there's no lack of buyers for TikTok. This is one of the most successful media outlets in the world.
It's
Byte,
unbelievable. It's
yeah,
addicting. It's so good.
yeah. So let's talk about the dilemma. ByteDance itself, that owns TikTok in America, is probably worth around $300 to $350 billion. TikTok America only represents under 10% of that ByteDance value. So let's call TikTok US worth somewhere between 30 and 40 billion. Just round the numbers, making it easy. So there are dozens of buyers, including me, that want a piece of this deal. But until last week, there were only two people that mattered: Trump and Xi. Xi has the golden share. He controls the company. The ByteDance shareholders have no say. Only he decides. And Trump decides who the buyers are going to be. So Xi was not a seller. We had plenty of buyers in the US, but no sellers, until Trump got on the phone with him last week and convinced him it was in his best interest to stay in the circle of friendship with the United States and sell it. And he convinced them. So those are the two people that mattered. But then a third emerged, Larry Ellison from Oracle. Ellison, according to what the White House has been indicating, we don't have it yet because we haven't seen the executive order, but it looks this way, is going to be entrusted to run the servers where the algorithm lives in Paris, Texas, and in Virginia. And he will have to guarantee Congress and the Supreme Court that he will rip out the spyware, and that he will be entrusted to make sure that the buyers, the collective group, including she is probably the largest, will not be hit with that fine. Because remember, this fine, it goes past this administration. It outlives Trump. And the next administration may administer it if they feel that the law hasn't been abided by. So you're going into a situation where it's not zero risk. So Ellison kind of controls the deal. And he will handpick, I would imagine, along with Trump, who's allowed in. But there's huge opportunity. Imagine this. Let's say you got 172 million, which TikTok has now. If you told every American tomorrow morning, we've got your back, there's no spyware anymore, all the people that turned it off would say, hey, I could put it back on my phone. And just like that, you increase the user base 20 to 30%. But wait, just like in the infomercials, it gets better. Why don't you just go back to India and say, hey, we cleaned this mess up. Let us manage the Indian version of TikTok. We'll cut a deal with the Chinese. Let's light it up in India again. I mean, the opportunity here is so huge. And you make it better by making it safe for Americans, and all of a sudden, you might find 250 million people on it, which makes it the largest network in the US and one of the largest in the world. I think that's very, very valuable, and no wonder there's so many people trying to get involved in this thing. But it boils down to one thing. The people that wrote the law are actually the staffers of the so-called China hawks, the senators and governors and the politicians and congressmen and women that rallied to get this law written. And they are watching. At the end of the day, Larry Ellison has to go to them and say, here's my solution. I want you to endorse it and tell me that I'm complying with the law. And you would hope you can do that. But they're not dumb. They wrote the law, and they're very smart technically. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, well, that's an interesting take. So it sounds like you're cautiously optimistic. I don't know. It doesn't sound like you totally
I
think that.
am optimistic. I am optimistic. I'm in the camp that says this deal can get done. Now, whether I'll get a piece of it or not, I think there has to be 1,000 guys in private equity that want a piece of this deal. That may be 10,000. I don't know. But the people that should be offered a piece of this are the ones that built their livelihood on TikTok, the 7 million businesses that operate now. This is the three generation, I call them the Shark Tankers. Shark Tank needed TikTok, TikTok needed Shark Tank, and together they blew this thing up. And all of the revenue comes from those companies. And so why not offer them a piece of the deal? Because if they got a little taste, if they could invest $1,000 to $10,000 in equity in the new TikTok America, they would incline to stay on the platform during the transition period. And I think that's really valuable. And I'm an advocate for them. And that's what I started with, last September. I was saying, wait a second, what about my guys? Why can't they get a piece of this deal? And so I'll be an advocate for that, walking up and down the halls of Congress. We'll see if that can get worked out. Who knows? There's so many moving parts on this.
I know there
But
are.
I've just given you the roadmap on how this deal is going to go down.
It's going to be very interesting to see, especially because ByteDance, although you hear this all the time in business, they really dug their heels in and said they'd never sell to the United States. They'd never do a deal. And of course, here we are, I'm sure because of money there and, a lot of international relations. But it's so interesting that they're even entertaining it after they've, declared for a year they would never, work with us. So if President Trump can do it and it benefits everyone, I mean, that would be pretty big for President Trump, I would think.
Well, lots of people tell Trump, well, we'll never do that. And then he starts squeezing their heads. And then the next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire because the way this thing works is they want access to the US markets. And so Trump has that wild card. He says, well, look, you can be in the circle of friendship or not. And apparently these days, if you're not in the circle of friendship, your tariffs are 35 to 39%. If you're in the circle of friendship, your tariffs are 10 to 15%. So if you're Chinese and you want to access the world's largest market, you want to be in the circle of friendship.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on the phone call, but obviously Trump must have said, if you want to get into the circle of friendship, I think you got to sell TikTok. I'm feeling the love for TikTok right now. What do you say, big guy? And she says, ooh, do I want to be the circle of friendship?
Well, not really. He's thinking of ways he could try to kill Trump, but he knows that's not going to happen. So
Well, I think
he's going to make a
I
deal.
think, but you may like Trump, you may not like Trump, but I don't care about politicians. I care about policy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Trump's policy I care about. And what is the policy on tariffs in different places in the world? I do business all over the world. I care about policy. You don't make money with politicians, you make money with policy.
All right. Speaking of policy, where do you think the future is for Jimmy Kimmel?
I know Jimmy. I like him.
I like Jimmy.
Um, you know, you may find this answer a little different on Kimmel. I
I don't
get the
mind. Tell us.
Yeah, no, I get the freedom of speech thing, and I believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe in a concept brought forward years ago by one of the greatest late night comedians, well, maybe the greatest, Johnny Carson. He created the genre. And I remember this 60-minute interview decades ago. Maybe it was 20, 30 years, I can't remember. And they were asking him, why, why do you do so few political jokes? He said, why would I want to piss off half my audience? Why would I want to do that? I want Republicans watching me. I want Democrats watching me. I get them at the end of a long, hard day. They've been dealing with their life's problems and issues with their families. I want to entertain them. I don't want to drag them down the toilet of politics. That guy was a friggin' genius.
I
You
know.
know, and then decades later, Michael Jordan says, I want to sell sneakers to Republicans too on
They
air.
buy sneakers too, Kevin. Yeah.
And so why piss off half your audience? And I tell my own team and certainly my own views, I don't shill for one side or the other, ever. You know, I'm pro-business. I want small companies to succeed. And I keep telling them every day, in order to succeed, you have to sell to both sides. You don't get on your high horse and piss off the other side. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're from the planet Zutron. I don't care if you're gay or trans or black or white or whatever. I don't care what your sex is. I couldn't give a damn. Can you execute and build a business? And if you can work for me. That's DEI right there. I look for executional skills, and I've got every kind of person working for me because they know what they're doing. And I feel the same way about an entertainer. If you're an entertainer, entertain. Like, don't drag down half your audience into some shithole. And I think that's good advice.
You and I agree on this. And I'm sure you have morality clauses for your, thousands of employees. I mean, if you work for an employer, you could be fired at any time. I mean, it's not, the freedom of speech he hasn't been taken away. He could start a podcast tomorrow and shit all over anybody he wants. I mean, he's not being jailed. It's like, I don't know. I think it's kind of the beginning of the end for Jimmy, probably. They did bring him back. Trump's not happy, but I don't know. For a lot of reasons, right? I mean, late night ratings aren't what they were when Jimmy Carson was doing late night. It's changed so much, but he's back. He has freedom of speech. It's just, when you work for an employer, when you work for
No,
Kevin O'Leary,
Sarah.
you got to do kind of what Kevin O'Leary's team wants.
Well, I want you to make money. We want to distribute money. We want to, the reason you work for me is you want to make money. That's
You
what I want
bet.
you to do. You know, you said something in there that's very important. You said ratings. Television is based on ratings. In the end, if you're a comedian and you're not funny and people don't watch you, you're going to get whacked. It doesn't matter what your politics are. If you can't garner ratings so advertisers can make money when they buy your advertising slots so the network can, make money and pay you and your team millions of dollars to produce the show, you're going to get whacked. And you should get whacked. I mean, they don't have to subsidize low ratings. So you should think about every day. That's not just Jimmy Kimmel. That's everybody on TV. When I get together with my Shark Tank cohorts and we work on a show, we want everybody to watch it. We're proud of what we do. And we don't get dragged down, gender education or politics. We talk about young people's ideas to build a business, a product or service. And I like that a lot. There's nothing political about it. And that's why we've survived for so long. I don't care what your politics are, you can learn something from Shark Tank. And your kids can too. We're the #1 family show. So the whole idea is understand what you're doing when you do it. Read the room, read the room, understand where you are, and act accordingly. I mean, that does not sound like brain surgery. You can figure that out pretty quickly. And all these guys that are whining because they got whacked by their networks, well, I don't think they listen to that advice.
Fair enough. I hear you're going to be in a film coming out later this year, Marty Supreme, and you are playing the love interest of Gwyneth Paltrow. Kevin, that's like you landed the role of a lifetime.
Well,
That's a pretty good one.
I got to tell you something. I mean, it's well, here's something to think about for everybody. You know, if you want to stay sharp and you want to be productive and you want to get up in the morning and just look forward to what you're going to do all day, which is how you should live your life anyways, you have to do something during the day that is not within your comfort zone. What happens to all of us, particularly if you're successful, as you are, Sarah, you get into a routine. You do the things that are so easy for you to do because you've done them so many times and they work for you. And you stay in your lane. But you're not exercising the most important muscle in your body, your brain. Your brain can do what you do almost on autopilot now.
Totally.
And that's not good because it's supposed to be challenged. And so if someone comes along to you and says, "Hey, why don't you learn how to play the violin? Why don't you learn how to paint? Why don't you learn how to play mahjong? Why don't you, do something that you can't do?" You say, "Nah, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to embarrass myself." Well, that's what happened to me on Marty Supreme. Josh, the director, Josh Safdie is legendary for what he did with Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, and the guy who wrote that was Ronnie Bronstein. And Eli, the producer, they flew up to my cottage one day after phoning me the night before. They said, "Listen, Ronnie, who writes the script's a huge fan of Shark Tank. We love the show, and we're looking for a real asshole in this movie, and you're it." And I said, "Well,
Compliment.
guys,
Thank you.
well, I don't know if it was a compliment, but that's what they said." And I said, "Well, I don't do scripted." And they sent me a PDF and I got it printed out that day. It was the size of a telephone book. And I said, "I have to memorize this whole thing?" And they said, "Yeah, you got to know your lines and you got to know the other guy's lines." And I've never done that before. I'm dyslexic. I don't know how to memorize anything. And I thought to myself, I got to do this. I've got to try this. I've got to put myself out there. And I called my agent and he said, "You sure you want to do this? You might shit the bed." "You sure?" And I said, "Well, maybe I won't shit the bed. How do you know?" He said, "I don't know. I mean, I can set the deal up, but you're out there with this. You don't do scripted." And the next thing I knew, I was on the set shooting the first day, 7 pages of script with Timothee Chalamet, and I went, "Wow." And
I
I'll let you decide if I shat the bed or not. So you decide when you see it. Christmas Day it comes out. I worked on that movie for almost 8 months, on and off.
I can't
And
imagine you get intimidated by many people, but I mean, Timothy Chalamet and Gwyneth Paltrow, was that like at all, like when they hit action, was that a little intimidating for you or not really? Mr. Wonderful.
well, I had met Gwyneth on the set of Shark Tank. She was a guest shark 3 years ago. And so we knew each other from that. But I have to admit, there's something, I don't think I've said this to anybody yet while we're having this long form conversation. Here's how it works. Here's a little insight to how this happens. Let's say the scene is, this movie's set in 1952. Let's say the scene is a dinner party in 1952 inside the Plaza Hotel. And the director and the set designer and the lighting director and the cameraman, they spend a week converting the Plaza Hotel into what it was like in 1952. Not just on a random basis, every fork, every knife, every menu, every extra, every wardrobe, everything, the art on the wall, everything is 1952. And then you're sitting in front of the camera and Josh says action. You open up your eyes, you are in 1952. You're there. You're in it. And you're in that moment, and all of a sudden your brain, because you've memorized the script now, you're there. And it's not hard anymore. It's just you're in 1952. and you go down the rabbit hole into the 40th take. Then they change the camera, 20 more takes, and over until you're so in the zone, you're just there, and it's everything around you is 1952, and it's just a weird thing. I remember that shoot very well because at 2 in the morning, my daughter and wife came down to watch it, and we were just beginning at 2 in the morning. And I was staying at the Casa Cipriani's downtown, and my wife was there, and Savannah lives in New York. So around 3 in the morning, they were just dead, and we were just at the beginning of the first page of the script, and they just left. When I got back to Casa Cipriani's, I was wired. I mean, I said to the maitre d', I went upstairs to that beautiful room overlooking the Hudson. I said, look, I need breakfast. Get me some scrambled eggs and some smoked salmon and a bottle of 1922 Montrachet. He said, what are you, crazy? It's 7:30 in the morning. I said, no, I'm not crazy. It may be 7:30 for you, but it's not for me. Get me the Montrachet. And when, I called Linda, I said, I'm having breakfast. I got a bottle of Montrachet on the ice. And she said, what are you, nuts? I said, no, I'm not shooting today. I gotta unwind. And by the time she got upstairs, there was no Montrachet left. I mean, it was just, I'd never had an experience like that. But now I understand why these people do this. It's so incredible to experience it. And when I saw it, when I went to do the voiceover on it months later, I freaked out when I saw myself on the big screen. I went, is that me? Is that me? Is that really me?
Yeah, it's
I'm
amazing.
hooked. I'm hooked,
Are
man.
you? You want to do more acting?
I think I do. But the trouble is, this is an A24 movie. I started at the very top. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
with the number one actor in the world. My wife is Gwyneth Paltrow, who, by the way, 1952 for her, that was her. You should see how she looks in this movie with 1952 wardrobe on. Like, she's a classic Hollywood star. I mean, by the way, she's way taller than me. It's ridiculous. I'm walking in like a dwarf beside her. It's
Did they
crazy.
put you on a stool? Like, did you have to stand up on a?
No, they were cruel to me. When we walked through the plaza, I looked like a dwarf. It was ridiculous. But,
She's amazing. Did Kylie Jenner show up at all?
oh, I mean, that and more. I got to tell you about Timmy. I don't care where you go in the world.
Oh,
We're shooting a scene. We're shooting a scene, and he says, "Let's go get some fresh air." And his mother was there for some of the shoots. She's just a wonderful person. And I go outside onto the street of Times Square. It was like the Beatles in 1964 at the Ed Sullivan Show. This kid is famous all around the world. And I mean, they were holding up signs with really explicit stuff on them. And I thought it was for me. I mean, he is, he is, he's the modern day, you know, he's the new Leonard DiCaprio. That's what he is.
yes. Now, it's hard to be that big of a movie star, I think, today because you're competing with TikTok stars and, cable
Oh, but
stars.
this
He's
kid
another
has
level.
talent. Like I've watched him transform. My first day of shooting in a Parisian, um, bistro. You know, it was the first scene, and we had a long scene, and he just went into a zone,
Yeah.
and boom, he was the character in front of me, and that helped me become me in this movie. And we did it multiple times, and I asked him later, how the fuck do you do that? He said, I don't know I'm doing it. It's just how it goes. And that's why he's a great actor.
Oh my God. Yeah, unbelievable. You've been so generous with your time. Like I said, my fans were looking forward to this, so they've submitted questions. I want to do some rapid fire with you.
Yeah.
From this isn't me, Kevin. This is my fans. Okay, they want to know all this. One woman wants to know, when are you going to run for Prime Minister of Canada?
I did that already, 2016. I'm not doing it again. It
You
was,
did? Okay.
yeah, I ran for the conservative leadership. I will say one thing about that experience this is a good question, by the way. There's a big, in celebrity, and I don't know how many million followers I have now, a lot. there are people that like me and there are people that don't like me. That's okay. I'm cool with it. I don't expect to make everybody happy.
Yeah, who cares?
But in politics, which I didn't anticipate or even think through, there are people that want to vote for you and there are people that want to kill you. And that's a little different
Mm.
than celebrity. Now, you may want to use your celebrity to help you in politics, but there's a heavy, heavy cost. And I'd never experienced anything like that before, getting rushed out of a room with security and stuff like that, or a stadium. That's not cool. And
Yeah.
that's not cool. I mean, and that's why I admire every politician. I understand what they're sacrificing. I don't care what their politics are. I respect them. I may not agree with their policies, but I respect them. And it's that was the negative, which I've thought about since. And then the positive, which I had never done. I'm Irish, I'm Canadian, I have an Emirati residency as well. Um, and I had never gone across Canada and seen every small town because you don't. I mean,
Yeah, right. Why would you? Right.
why would you? Except in the riding system, you have to go to every riding in every province and see it all from the tip of the East Coast to the West Coast. What a country! It's the most beautiful place on earth. I mean, that's the benefit of the deal. I'm never doing that again. I mean, I got 4 hours sleep and I would, get into some town with maybe 2,000 people living there, but they had a vote too. And I would, have breakfast at 6 in the morning and do another town and another riding. It was really a hell of an experience. Um, but I'm glad I did it. That was
Yeah.
definitely outside of my comfort zone. But no, I'm so busy in doing the things that I want to do today and working with entrepreneurs and all the stuff I do. I'm pretty happy.
What a good analogy too. You're right. Unfortunately, with when it comes to politics, it's like, yeah, it's not I dislike you for being on a TV show. It's like I actually want to kill you. It's very scary right now. Yeah, for that. Okay, some lighter questions. What's your favorite watch in your watch collection?
You know, it's so difficult because I have so many, but I thought you were going to ask a question like that. So I'm going to show you two pieces today that I'm wearing that I just got in the last 48 hours. And let me tell you something about watch collecting. And watch collecting is a disease. You you don't need a watch. Your phone is
Yeah, is
much
your
better at
watch.
keeping time. You don't need a watch. So why would you spend thousands of dollars on a mechanical watch when you don't need it? Well, because it marks your life in moments when you got it. Every watch I get is because of something that happened to me that I want to mark my life with. A child is born, a deal is done, we wrap a movie, whatever the hell it is. I close a new deal. I want to watch. But there's a period in your life as a collector where you get all the production watches, the APs, the Patek Philippe's, the Rolexes, they're so beautiful. But then you reach a point, and this is where this is a whole different kind of thing. There are a bunch of people around the world that are very, very, very infected and crazy with this horology stuff. They're very sick people. And they come from all places in life. Surgeons, royalty, ruling families, um, comedians, just engineers, astronauts. These are the collective, the global collective of the collectors, the ones that are known to each other in almost a secret society. And when you want to get what's called a piece unique, what that means is, and I think you'd appreciate this, if you want Chanel to make you a one of a kind watch,
Sounds
just
good.
for you,
Yeah.
or Cartier, these are really 100-year-old companies that have these protocols about staying Chanel Coco Chanel. It has to go through the committee of Coco Chanel, or Cartier, doing a one-of-a-kind Cartier. You have to be a member of that collective. They have to trust you to be the steward of that piece, not just during your lifetime, but afterwards. They're making it for you. And I'm very, very, very fortunate. I have achieved that. It's taken me my whole lifetime. So the watches I'm going to show you are very rare because they're made by
Wow.
makers where they only make a couple a year, but they know me and I know them. And so I don't, and so first of all,
Or these are some of your favorites, obvious. Like,
well, this watch is 48 hours old for me on my wrist, you know.
wow.
Um, you know, right now in watchmaking, titanium is the metal of choice. It's very hard to work with, you know. So there's a maker, David Candu, D-O-U, I think it's C-A-N-D-A-U-X, engineer, paraglider, watchmaker, who has designed a watch that makes grown men weep when they see it. They can't believe it. They don't know how he did it. And he only makes a few a year. And there's no way he's going to sell you one unless he knows that you are going to appreciate what he's done. This is like masterworks. And that's on my left wrist. I'm going to show you in a second. But every time I wear a piece like that, let's call that $300,000 watch, maybe more. Okay, I don't know what it is today. Last year, maybe it's 3 years ago, somebody on Shark Tank said, hey, Kevin, we're having a problem with you. You're walking onto the set with watches nobody can afford or ever get because they're piece uniques, and you look like a real asshole. Like, why can't you wear one on the other wrist that people can afford? It's your idea that you can bring in an entry level that they can get a great idea from. In fact, that's what you're going to do. And I said, wait a second. But I did do it, and it really worked out for me because I brought a whole bunch of new collectors in. So today,
Oh,
the
wow.
David Can Do right here, made of titanium, this insane watch. Okay, I'm going to see if you can see.
Yeah. Now you can, oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow.
It's crazy. It's got two domes on it. You can
Very
actually
ornate. Yeah.
very, very. It's a flying tourbillon for people to understand what that is, and a dome that shows the time on the right-hand side, and also a magic crown. Most watches have a crown on the side. You push this button, it pops up, so it never touches the wrist, and you're dialing on the magic crown from the top. This is an incredible innovation. This, as we said, over 300,000. And look at this beautiful piece.
I got like
All
three
right.
more questions
Now
for you.
this
Are you-
watch
those-
here is
Okay.
it's under $2,000. You can buy it online. Nicola Caligaro is his name. Italian guy. Burst on the scene, a designer, and built this watch. And I want to show the attribute of it. It's called the Echo Neutra, Neutra. But here's the thing, Sarah. Look at how thin that watch is.
Oh, wow.
It's the same thickness of the band.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't see
great.
that too often. That's pure titanium. It's going to last a lifetime. Look how thin it is.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a really nice watch. Yes.
It would look good on
Very
your wrist.
handsome. Yes.
So those are the two I'm featuring today. I'm coming in blasting with, this incredible piece for 300,000, of which there's only a few in the world. But I also want to bring people in on this Echo. It's just so gorgeous.
I'm
Anyway,
sure people are intimidated by you, Kevin, but you're so much fun to talk to. You seem so easy breezy. Like I love, yeah, you would be easy to pitch to. Probably difficult to work for, but okay, couple last rapid fire questions. I want to get this right. I love this guy's question for you. Knowing what you know now, if you had to start over again, what would you do with $1,000?
The easiest answer to that,
I'm
and
like,
I wish I had done that with my first $1,000, is simply put it into an index of the market. I use one called OUSA, but you can also do SPY, which is OUSA is a subset of the not Russell 2000, but the S&P 500. So it's the American economy basically, and OUSA is the companies that have better balance sheets within the 500. And just sit there and let it grow. You
Okay.
can try and beat it by picking stocks. Very few people can. If you start doing that in your late 20s and you just have $70,000 a year as an average salary, you'll be a millionaire by the time you're 64. If you just don't mess with it, just let it compound in growth. Most people can't do it. They don't have the discipline. They screw up. They buy shit they don't need. But if you had that $1,000, you just buy and just download. You don't even have to buy it. You download one of these apps on your phone. You don't even need to get a brokerage account anymore. I use the one I actually helped built was called Beanstocks, Beanstox. But you can use any of them, and you just put it in the index and put 15% of your salary into it every week and watch it grow on the phone. It goes up and down as the years go by. But the American economy has returned 8 to 10% on average, and even better this year, 17%. Just let it grow and don't buy shit you don't need. I bet you, Sarah, if I went to your closet, I'd find 40, 50% of your stuff you don't even wear anymore. You pissed away that money buying it. And I know you're guilty of it.
I am. I mean, I am. I'm good at paying myself first, but I do still do wasteful things. How much do you get paid on Shark Tank? Somebody wants to know that. You want to reveal your salary?
No, we have to sign NDAs with Sony and MGM and Disney and ABC. I don't do it for the money.
Oh my God, no. I
That
mean,
that
the
is not that is
promotion.
not that is not where I make the majority of my money. Um, but I do enjoy it a lot. And listen, don't get me wrong. I want to be paid whatever I'm worth, and I let the agents decide what that is. You know, that's fine. I'm sure it's definitely good, but that's not why I do it. I mean, I'm giving up 2 months of my life to do that show, and I want to. Um, we do a lot of work on that in the off season. We're promoting our companies and we're doing update shoots and we're flying to New York to promote it. We're going on Good Morning America, The View, all that stuff is going on while we're doing this. And we want to do it. And, but that's, if a good question, I can't answer it anyways. I'm bound by an NDA.
Any chance we'll get a reboot with you and Bethenny Frankel of Money Court?
I don't think so because Money Court was part of the era where cable did a lot of their own production at night for nighttime shows. And I really liked that show and its numbers were growing very well. But that model's completely changed because of what's happened with media. I mean, obviously, people can only watch whatever they're watching for so many hours. And so what's occurring now is a lot of the daytime shows are putting to syndication at night on cable. So there's not a lot of new production. It's the stuff that's already proven successful during the day that gets re-aired at night. And so, I would say the answer to that is no.
Do you watch any of her TikToks? Speaking of somebody who's making a living on TikTok.
Oh, of course. I know her very well. I mean, I know her very well. I mean,
Yeah.
we've worked together. She's even worked on Shark Tank. I would say it's fair to say we're friends. She's got a lot of energy.
She does. I'm sure she kept you on your toes. Okay, this isn't my question, but people want to know why are you such a cuck for Trump?
Well, as I said, it's I
Not
don't.
my question.
No, I
And
know it's
I'm with
fair.
you. I'm not political. I don't care.
No, no, it's
Democrats,
fine.
everybody's welcome on my
Every
show, but
question,
people.
every every question is fine. Um, it's it's not about Trump. It's about the administration's policy. I'm pro-business, and I like to see regulation reduced, and I like to see state taxes go down. I like to see states properly managed. So I'm pretty critical about policy, and so there's some of Trump's policies I agree with,
Sure.
and I support those, and there's some I don't, and I talk about that too. I didn't like, the $100,000 on H-1B visas, and I don't like restricting um, what students go to MIT and Harvard because I teach there, and I don't like that. So, but overall, I think he's getting good marks just based on what the market's doing. The economy's doing quite well, so he must be doing something right, and that's the way I look at it. So if somebody says, "Oh, you're a shill for Trump," I said, "No, no, I'm a shill for his policy."
Yeah. Well, your co-shark Mark Cuban, I think, said it well a while ago, which was, we're in an AI race with China, with all these other countries, right? And President Trump is great for that. I mean, we are heading into, this better than anyone, this next era of technology that nobody even knows, right? And hopefully we win that. I want not that China's totally a bad guy, but I want the good guys to win. It's like if he's going to allow that, seems like a lot of you guys in tech are going to really be able to expand with AI, which is big. We need that in America.
Yeah, sure. And I'm developing data centers because of it. I'm a real estate guy, developer. It's my biggest portfolio. So we're building data centers because of the insatiable demand, and it's a very complex process to do that because you need power, you need water, you need land, you need permits, you need fiber, you need a lot of engineers, a lot of design stuff. It really matters. And so um, I think Cuban's right on that. And I think right now I'd say we're ahead of China, but we're not going to be able to keep that unless we build more data centers. They're certainly building them. And they're using coal-fired plants to get electricity. We don't get to do that here. So we have to use natural gas, and that's where a lot of this is going.
Yeah. Kevin O'Leary, Shark Tank is on Wednesday nights. Unbelievable show, 17 seasons. Incredible. You're amazing and so nice to meet you and have you on the show.
You got it. Really enjoyed speaking with you, Sarah. You
Thank
know,
you.
don't give up your day job. This is good.
I won't. And actually, I saw you at the Polo Lounge. I'm going to say like a year or so ago, and I should have come up, but you were having cocktails or something with people, and so you look. But next time, I'm going to just introduce myself at the Polo
It's funny because
Lounge.
I stayed at the Beverly Hills Hotel for decades, and I've recently moved down to the Maybourne because it's closer to restaurants. And these days in LA, I hate to say this, but you got to be very close to the restaurant. You don't want to walk around at night anymore. It's just crazy what's going on out there.
No, and
I
you
mean,
definitely don't with your watch collection, honey. You no,
I don't even wear watches out of now. The stories are crazy. I wear my Apple Watch. Here, take it. It's sort of like any of my big pieces, not a chance. I don't wear them in San Francisco. I don't wear them in LA. It's they got a lot of work to do to fix up California.
You better believe it. I tell people, and people always say, how do you afford to live in California? I say, California saves me money. You think I'm going to buy a Chanel bag to be a Target out here? I don't buy anything. It saves me money moving to California.
Well, you're right about that. You're right about that.
I don't buy any luxury goods. You think I want something?
When I go out there with my watches for Shark Tank, it's a security firm. I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Well, anyways,
Kevin O'Leary, thank you. You got it. Take care. Bye, Kevin.